Good day, summoners or riftbounders, or whichever term you prefer to use when playing Riftbound. Today we have the biggest reveals possible in terms of pretty much 99% of the cards coming in this coming set. 98.5%. That being said, in the background you'll see us scrolling through these cards, and I'm going to be talking about 10 of these cards I think are going to be really cool or interesting to go forwards, and may or may not help the games of certain decks going forwards. Overall though, I just think these are really cool. I'm not saying they're the best cards in the set, I just think they have an interesting gimmick or mechanic that could be intriguing to play around or with. First off, a Minefield. When you conquer here, put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your trash. Great for the high gambling Jinx deck that's currently out there. There's a few more cards in here that really want this version of the deck. You can get cards back, you can play cards from the trash. It's going to be such a high octane match where you just want to go in and out as much as you can. I think this will push Jinx to be a little bit more aggro via all the discarding. That being said though, I do want to see how Jinx plays in the upcoming sets, because I think she might be just too slow herself, but the discarding and playing from trash might become her main play style in the near future. We also got today specifically, as same with the last one, the signature equipments from Ornn. Now we're going to get 3 different equipments and you can only play one of each. All of them are really good, but I just like how the Forge Fire Cape is kind of just bonkers. For cost of 4, recycle 2, unique, equip. When I attack or defend, deal 2 damage to all enemy units that are here. You've got basically a little board wipe on an equipment. I can imagine this being really good. Now, I'm pretty sure this will trigger with the Rabadon's Death Crown, just because your spells and abilities deal 3 damage to each other. I'm presuming the passive is classed as an ability, which means that it can now do 5 damage to everything on the field. Ornn's going to be a nightmare, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. But we shall see what happens going down the line. Ornn isn't necessarily the biggest, toughest guy, but you're playing a very egregious Voltron deck, and I think people are ready to be annoyed by Ornn, the greatest blacksmith you've ever known. Then we have Karina Varaza, which we've seen before. We did a video on her a couple of days ago, or earlier this week. I don't think she's going to be really good in any deck that essentially wants to either play Baited Hook, or token spam, or just anything really that's going to kind of like net you a win for no reason other than because you can. As we saw, is it the Plaza of Greatness, or Plaza of Glorification, whatever it is, where if you have 7 or more units, you just win the game. I can see this being one of those where maybe a little bit behind, but you've got the runes to spare. You can just chuck 8 units into a arena. Your opponent can't really counter anything, and then you just win because essentially on turn maybe 5 you just have enough units to win. But I do see her being quite a good card for, say, Victor, maybe Darius. I don't really think Darius so much, but maybe Darius, and especially something like Renata, where she wants to have some more creatures going for her and not just gold tokens, until we can turn those gold tokens into bodies. Eye of the Herald, I just think is an interesting one again. More token generation. It only costs 1. You can play 3 of these in a deck if you wanted to. It doesn't have a recycle cost. Essentially, turn 1 you can play this, turn 2 you can equip it to something that costs 2. You can have 3 of these in a deck. You can just basically, when I move, create more units tokens here. Again, equip it to the last character, so instead of she's carrying 3 units, she's now making 4 units. All hail the glorious evolution. Switcheroo, I think it's going to be an amazing spell for like Teemo and other hidden decks in the future. Just being able to switch unit might is going to be amazing. This will also be the difference between possibly you surviving an Ornn beatdown and not surviving an Ornn beatdown. So I can see maybe Teemo being a fairly decent interaction deck with Ornn, but we shall see. Ancient Warmongers, I just think is an interesting aggro piece to purple, because purple doesn't seem to have a lot of aggro pieces. Accelerate obviously being haste or rush. But the fact that I have assault equal to the number of enemy units here means that essentially you're always going to be bigger than a basic unit in terms of like their strength pattern. So you're going to be 4, let's say they've got 4 1-might units, you now have 8 and they're still 4, which means they can't kill you, but in return you're just poking someone in the eye for the fun of it. Black Market Broker, when you play a card from face down, play a gold token exhausted. Again, I think this is going to be good in something like Teemo, because obviously he's really kind of just our main hidden character currently. But just gaining something for nothing, in my opinion, is going to be fantastic. And also, you can just sit in the base. He doesn't have to be on the battlefield. So flick it over, you see it happens, you make a gold. Next time it comes around, it's your turn. All of a sudden you've got a little bit more to play with. I think it's going to be really good in Teemo. Renata Glask, Mastermind. I just think it's a really cool idea, especially with the fact that we can now obviously convert the power into energy. So essentially, there's going to be turns where you just have so much gold on the field that you can just basically earn points for the sake of earning points. On turns where you're just basically kept alive on a field because your opponent can't fight back or they can't remove you for a turn, you can score an extra point this way. Just turn her sideways, cost of 8, which isn't a load of points. But obviously later in the game, if you're just trying to like inch out some wins, I can see this being a way to, maybe score an extra point or two late game. Or if you get super early game. Svelsonger, I think it's going to be really good in certain matchups like Yasuo, for instance. Just trigger his ability twice. He's the one that comes to mind like right now. But there are definitely going to be some green extra decks that can do this. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good in Azir. It's probably going to be very good in Ornn. I think Jax also gets like some decent use out of this as well. So, again, it's going to be a really good card going forwards. And then finally, the Skyfall of Arion. My hold effects are also conquer effects and vice versa, which means winning and holding and holding and winning is just winning more. So yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I do think people are going to enjoy this card in more aggro beatdown decks. It makes sense because you kind of need to have reasons to do this. It makes me look forward to see what Pantheon will do in the future, because I can just imagine him having his ultimate where it lets him just move basically from anywhere for his signature card, or you can give him his shield, Aegis. I think there's some good things in this set that are going to make it really good decks going forwards. But I kind of hope they don't just like go super power creepy in set 3. I would like to see what they can do. More consistent power levels for the first like 4 or 5 sets, so we know that each deck isn't just like power creep for the next one. But a card game is a card game, so maybe that will not be the case. But I'd like to see them just try and make a good 4 or 5 sets where there's like 10 good decks, 12 good decks, and then we get sort of like, well, actually, we've already done all the characters. What do I do now? Let's move on to the next ones that are just a little bit stronger. Overall, though, I think it's a really good set of cards, and I look forward to seeing what the 4 alternate arts that are left. I'm presuming they're going to be released over the weekend because it's the Houston Regional over in Texas. So, good luck, everyone. Have fun and defeat their Nexus.